Hey, welcome back to the OBEE, the Out of Body Experience Experiment. I'm your host, Ryan Stanley. Today is a combination of day 20 and 21. I have to admit, it was for the first time in 3 weeks. I was unable to. That's not a true statement. I did not make the appropriate time to post yesterday. There wasn't much to report. And so I will tie 20 and 21 together today in one day with a little bit of progress, actually. You can tell I'm looking a little sleepy here as I'm seeing myself on this recording. So I had a good night's sleep last night, but let me dial it back to day 20. Before we get to the good news, there's no out-of-body experiment. There was no out-of-body experience last night. That being said, we definitely have some progress. But again, we'll dial it back to day 20. Friday night, I worked till about 5 or 6. I ended up going over to a buddy's house and talking some business, and we threw back a couple cold ones, and it was just safe for me to stay there. I went to bed relatively late, a little bit of a buzz on. And so, I really didn't put too much effort into the out-of-body experiment, the out-of-body experience at that time. Part of me was like, listen, if it does happen, I don't want to, I don't think I want to have my first one to happen here in the guest room, my buddy's house. So I kind of put a pass on it, woke up bright and early on Saturday, drove home around 6 a.m., and then I was up for the full day. And so I kind of had a lazy day. I was kind of in slow motion, enjoyed some time with my kids, worked on a couple projects, put a big email together, and then was pretty exhausted by around 9 o'clock, 9:30. So I got a great night's sleep. I really was into obviously the visualization, and I was definitely doing the mantra. And one thing I will note, so first of all, I didn't have anything happen last night. But what I will note is, I go back to this vibration feeling that is coming as you kind of start this visualization, as you start kind of imagining yourself being someplace else. And I really been monitoring where it comes from. And it actually feels like it's coming from like that lower energy center, that lower, I think they call it the root chakra. I used to think it was before it was in my legs, but it's actually now I'm feeling that it's coming, I think, from there, and I can feel the vibrations in my legs and then moving throughout my body. But again, I don't know what any of this stuff means. I'm just experiencing it and sharing it. So then I went to bed last night around 9:30. And again, as usual, in recent weeks, my 7-year-old son, comes in bright and early in the morning. This morning, it was probably around 5 or 6. And he comes in and he was chit-chatting with my wife about video games. And I thought this was a great opportunity for me to sneak out and go into another room where I can begin now, because as we've talked about the previous couple of days, a recommendation is to do it not necessarily into the night, but either in the morning or even sometimes in an afternoon nap. So this was an early morning after getting at least 3 hours of REM, I think is kind of what they say. So around 6 o'clock this morning, I went into my guest room and put on the blindfold, I didn't put any, actually, you know what, to be honest with you, I didn't do that this morning. I didn't have my blindfold. I was so tired last night, I didn't even need it. So I said, but I did go into visualization. Went into visualization this morning in the guest room, and I had definitely my second lucid dream. And it was actually the coolest part about it. Coolest part about it was, as I was kind of drifting off, I'm lying there in the bed. I'm lying down very intentionally to have this experience of some sort, see what it's like before everybody gets up, and doing all the things. And I can feel myself start to drift off. It was like the dream I was very aware that when I started falling asleep, I was very aware that I started a dream. In fact, it started off with me saying, almost like, okay, I can feel like my arms feeling a little bit lifting, like they were lifting, my legs were lifting a little bit. And I was like, okay, this is the dream. This is it. This is part of it. So I just kind of was following it and paying attention. And then all of a sudden, I don't want to say all of a sudden I just know that I was in my backyard, like literally my real backyard. And it definitely wasn't an out of body experience. It was definitely a dream, but I was very aware that all of a sudden, okay, I was like, okay, so when I do have I know this isn't an out of body experience, but I also know this is a dream. And when I do have an out of body experience, one thing I want to practice is being able to control myself and be able to stay here in the out of body experience whenever that occurs. So I totally immediately turned this dream into like a training ground for out of body experience, which is pretty crazy. So I started kind of jogging around my yard. I'm like, okay, I can control this. And then I'm like, okay, so, and I can fly. So I flew up a little bit. And then I said, you know what, last time I did this, my first lucid dream, I flew up into the air and I decided to like go see my friend down, who knows, like far away. And so I realized I don't want to do that again. Let's just keep it local. Let's keep it safe. Let's do something I know real well. So I went down and landed, and I got a buddy who lives, a mile and a half up the road. And I used to jog throughout the summer. I would jog to his house and past his house and that type of thing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to run/fly there. And so I did, and it was all a dream. Again, not an out-of-body experience, but the fact that I was watching this happen, creating this happen, just so that I could get used to traveling once I do reach my out-of-body experience was cool. So I ran down to my buddy's house. And then I also know by reading these different books and learning about out-of-body experiences that apparently things, when you have an out-of-body experience, look very similar to the way they do, except for some things are different. And so knowing this, I put this into my dream, apparently. I got to my buddy's house and I went to his shed where we hang out outside by his garage a lot of the time. And so I went in there in the dream, and there was some things that were the same and some things were different. And so I was like, okay, so this is what, it was almost like really getting ready. So I'm hoping that all of this is a precursor to an eventual sooner than later. Now that we're at the 3-week mark, right? Maybe that there's some programming. Today's officially 21 days, officially 3 weeks. Maybe my brain was saying, okay, you need to wait 3 weeks. I have no idea. But I'm curious if this is the precipice of the out-of-body experience. So big week ahead, perhaps, in the OBEE. And so that's my news for today. But I would say, and I kind of started to say this, the cool part for me, and anyways, if you want to hear about the rest of the dream, I don't know, it's exciting to hear about other people's dreams, but I went into his house, I saw him there, and I realized obviously it wasn't him, because this wasn't an out-of-body experience. It was just a dream in me kind of imagining him. And so it was crazy. It was cool. I went into his house was different. And then I ended up leaving, still knowing that I'm in charge of this dream. And this is when it started to turn into more of a dream. Like then all of a sudden, Will Ferrell comes jogging by for no reason. I'm not sure where he was going, but it must have been something I saw on television or this week. So anyway, he goes jogging by, and I go running back to him, and I'm like, you know what? I get it now. And then I came out of my dream, and I was back in my bed. So that's a big report for, we had a week of kind of not too much going on. I mean, learning and being patient and stepping into it. A lucid dream, I think, is a step in the right direction. So 21 days, 2 lucid dreams, no out-of-body experience yet, but a longer lucid dream this time, and a more intentional lucid dream this time. And I believe that we're going to see some good things happen this week. I'm feeling more of the control and the power and the assistance. Like there's a piece of me that's like, asking for assistance from the universe. Like I think that was different this morning as well. I was like, listen, I'm ready. Whoever's out there needs to pull me into this out-of-body world. Pull me in. I'm ready. I was like, that's what I was literally saying that this morning. And that then shortly after I started falling asleep. And that's when I realized, okay, that's it. I'm falling asleep. Here comes the dream. Lo and behold, and there it was. So anyway, it's a Sunday. I got some stuff to do around the house. I got a little bit of work to do. I'm going to do a walking meditation later today, which I'm pretty excited about because I had to skip it last week. I didn't have to. I ended up skipping it. And so I'm excited for one this week. And I look forward to seeing you guys throughout the week. Let the games begin. Week 3 is finished. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your awesomeness. I appreciate your interest in this adventure. And I hope you're getting something out of it, even if it's just spending time with a weird dude in his office. Thanks for being you. I'll see you on the other side.